What is the most common reason that a claim gets denied?
So I find sometimes insurance companies, either they're doing a poor job of investigating the claim to begin with, and it's more a computer that's denying it, or it may be a body, somebody that's looking at it. But in many cases, it's a computer algorithm that is denying the claim. Are you tired of having your insurance claims denied? Do you want to know how to get the payouts you deserve? You're in the right place. Each week, me and my guests are dedicated to empowering you with the knowledge you need to navigate the complex world of insurance claim denials. With over 50 years in the claims game myself, I'll make sure you are guided through writing compelling claims appeals, understanding your insurance plans, navigating healthcare laws, and filing effective insurance complaints. Join me, Mary Covington, on today's episode as I teach you to simplify the intricate world of insurance while helping you confidently secure your claims, relieve your stress, and ease the financial burden of unpaid claims. Now, let's fix those claims.
I'm here with Mary Covington of the Fix My Claims podcast. Today, I'm actually a special guest host on the Fix My Claims podcast, and I am just so excited to dive into everything that you have to share for the listener with your upcoming podcast. So, first and foremost, Mary, the number one question I have for you is, how did you discover this industry in claims?
Well, I actually moved from New York to Idaho when I was 14, and I ended up in Salt Lake City. And I lived down the block from a guy that was the director of Aetna Life and Casualty in Salt Lake City. They had an office there. And so he offered me a job. I had wanted to go to law school, but some things had occurred that prevented me from doing that. So I took the job at Aetna, and I started low man on the totem pole and worked my way up and learned to process claims and become a supervisor, and learned about everything you need to learn to become a good claims person. So that was the beginning of my journey in becoming an advocate for families.
Love it. Love it. And then how many years have you been in the claims industry?
In the claims industry, 53 years, because I started at Aetna in 1970. So it's a long time ago. But I started this business realizing that families don't understand insurance. It's not something we learn in school. So it was more important to me to take what I knew and use it to assist people with claim problems and denials of benefits and all types of insurance too, not just medical or mental health, but dental, disability, life, all of these kinds of things. The insurance industry is one where you will get a denial. It's sort of like we're all going to die someday. And in life, if you get sick, you're probably going to end up fighting a denial at some point. The insurance company is going to say, oh, it's not medically necessary. It's not covered. We don't like that provider. They're not in your network. So there's all kinds of things that occur with claim denials, but it's easy to identify one because they don't pay.
No, fair enough. So,
And then you get a bill from your doctor or your hospital.
exactly. Speaking of not paying and some of the things that are happening within this industry that are so difficult for people who are getting denied claims. Speaking of that, Mary, you are a fighter. I mean, since I first had a conversation with you about this topic when we were building this podcast, I remember telling my wife, I was like, wow, if we ever have any issues with any denied claims, I promise you, we are going to have a conversation with her because she is a fighter. Like, I can just tell that you're such an advocate for your clients. So let's play out a fun little scenario here. Okay. Let's say that, people can listen to all different types of podcasts. But let's say that somebody just got in the mail word that they have a claims denial and they are so confused, and there's so much complexity behind this idea of how do I actually acquire the result I'm looking for in terms of like getting the money back or what have you. With that being said, what is in it for a listener listening to the Fix My Claims podcast?
Well, I think what it is it gets you the ability to understand the denial and then evaluate whether or not the denial is appropriate, because that is the number one thing. If you get a denial, what is the reason for the denial? And then was it valid? Because that particular issue is what needs to be investigated. And so some people will sort of bury their heads in the sand. Not me. I am, let's go check out what they did, why they did it, and how we can fight it. So many people don't understand that process of how do I check to see if my claim is valid and should be paid. Many people will pick up the phone and call the insurance company. That may not always be the right thing to do first. Generally, you want to understand the type of denial and then check your insurance policy. If they say it's not covered, you want to go look at the exclusions in your plan. So there's a lot of reasons to start that investigative journey. You become an investigator. You put on your investigator hat and you begin to check. Calling the insurance company is fine, but that holds a little bit of danger because you may end up, they may take your call as an appeal, and you never want to do an appeal with just a phone call because nothing gets in the administrative record. And you always want to create a written record of what you're doing before you do it. And so that investigation piece is the most important piece.
That's really good. That's really helpful because I think a lot of times, you know, like you mentioned, this isn't something that they teach us in school. And so
Exactly.
being able to have a show like this podcast where, hey, I have this problem. This is a real problem. I am feeling like I don't have the time to navigate the complexities of this world. I don't know where to go first. I mean, you're already giving us value with what you just said. So, with that being said, Mary, you know, you've mentioned before that you've referred to claims as the claim game, which I think is really cool, right? So, you know, tell me a little bit about like why you refer to claims as the claim game.
Well, I find that it's having played a lot of games when I was growing up. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters, and so games are an important part of my strategy. So there's always a way to win. Any game. I play hearts on my computer, I play solitaire on my computer, and so as I'm playing, I'm strategizing how I'm going to win. And so that piece is the most important piece that I find is gathering up the strategy to win. And so over the years, we've developed a tried and true process for checking the claim. Is it good? Is it bad? And what is my strategy to beat the insurance company at this denial? And so, along with that comes all the laws, the rules, the regulations, the insurance policy, the reason they denied, what type of policy you have, how many appeals you've got. And then you begin to build your evidence to pursue that claim
I'm
to
curious to
win.
know. Well, sure, yeah. I'm curious to know why are you so passionate about claims?
I feel like I grew up in claims. So as I got older and the more claims I did, new federal laws came in. So it's new and exciting. There's always something new in claims, or there's a new reason an insurance company denied. And I'm like, what? And so you begin to check everything. And it's that ability to create the strategy from everything that you've learned over 53 years, and you take it to the advantage of the family because most families are in crisis. It's a large dollar claim. You might have a $250,000 claim. You don't have any money to pay that. You've got to rely on your insurance company. Heck, that's why we pay our premiums, right? We pay so they will pay for our risk that they've taken. And we're all going to get sick at some point. So the issue becomes, how do I make it so the insurance I'm insulated from an insurance company denial that we believe is valid? And so that strategy comes from all of these things that we've done over the years, working with attorneys, reading court opinions. So it goes much further than that. And then you take all of that and you continue to work the strategy in the best way to affect an overturn of that denial. And that's what you're shooting for all of
Sure.
the time.
Sure. Sure. So, what is the result of somebody who receives word that they've had a denied claim? And, based on your experience, what's the result of someone who has gotten a denied claim and they just like kind of act like it doesn't exist and they just push the mail off and then they get more mail and they're like, I know I need to solve this problem, but I just don't have time to do it.
Well, they should find an advocate. They should find someone like us that knows insurance very well and that can guide them through the process because they don't know it. And you don't want to get that collection notice from the hospital or from the doctor's office because that's going to ruin your credit. You need to, work on it immediately. And the rule is you generally only have 180 days to appeal and gather up all that evidence. So you don't want to wait till the last minute because your strategy begins right at the beginning so that you can make sure that all of the evidence is in the file that and you can write a great appeal letter that is going to get you a win and an overturn.
No, that's so good. That's so clear something up for us here as the audience. Are you an attorney? Like what's the difference between you and an attorney that would go after this? And, why should I use a company like Fix My Claim?
Well, most attorneys are equipped to litigate. They don't generally do appeal work. We get a lot of referrals from attorneys to help families because their work is much more expensive than ours, obviously, because they're attorneys. So, being a healthcare advocate, it gives you that ability to know everything that the attorneys know and work with the attorneys to make sure that, again, your appeal strategy is solid as it pertains to the regulations or state laws or the policy itself. And so you begin to understand what it is they need so that if you don't win, you've made it so that a lawyer will win for the family. So, and the other thing is we have lawyers that do take claims on a contingency fee basis. So sometimes our fees, so if I'm working a claim and I don't win, I have attorneys all over the country, we do, that will look at these claims for us and most of them are taken and they love our work. They think that we are the solid people that know how to write a solid appeal. Some of our medical necessity appeals are 100 pages with, 5,000 pages of evidence and, 42 exhibits. And you want to make sure that when you are going in for a win, that you've checked all the boxes of the arguments that you want to make. So it's arguments and evidence, always arguments and what's the evidence you have to support your argument. And that is what makes us the premier company because most people don't know how to put that all together. They don't have the experience of 53 years or 35 years of running this company that gives us that ability to create the perfect strategy.
So, Mary, you mentioned 53 years. I'm sure you have some bizarre stories. Do you have any particular story that you would share with us that would, give us some insight into where someone is at, how you can help?
Well, I just had one recently where I'll call him Ken. Ken called me and said, my wife's emergency appendectomy was denied as not necessary. And I remember thinking to myself, you think you've heard it all, and then you hear someone had an emergency appendectomy, their appendix had to come out, and the insurance company says it's not necessary. And that is actually in a letter. And I sometimes I almost fall off my chair, but I was shocked to learn that an insurance company would do that. Or I had a guy in Florida years ago that was working for Tolman Hundley Hotels, and he and an employee were spraying water on each other. And the woman came out and fired them for doing that. And so he took off on his motorcycle and he hit a car and he became a quadriplegic. And he came to the hospital where I was working, or physical medicine and rehab hospital. And I was a case manager there. And when they hired me, they said, Mary, what can you do for us? And I said, well, if there's insurance money, I'll find it. And I immediately got the job. And so there I began to really see and help people. So this guy, Alan, I said, well, we'll get Cobra because Cobra's a law that gives you an extension of your coverage. So I wrote Tolman Hundley Hotels where he had worked, and they refused his Cobra because they said that he had gross misconduct. He was fired for gross misconduct. And I said, a water hose is gross misconduct? I don't think so. So we began an appeal and helped Mr. Kuhn because he needed a wheelchair, he needed a specialized bed. There was so much equipment that he was going to need in his life. And the care he needed just to become independent was going to be months and months of treatment. And so we won that case. The case settled, but it was a very interesting case.
What is the most common reason that a claim gets denied?
So I find sometimes insurance companies, either they're doing a poor job of investigating the claim to begin with, and it's more a computer that's denying it, or it may be a body, somebody that's looking at it. But in many cases, it's a computer algorithm that is denying the claim. It could be that you went to the emergency room and you came in with chest pain, but your ultimate diagnosis was pneumonia. So the insurance company said pneumonia isn't an emergency, but they didn't get the medical record to see that the patient had massive chest pain and was brought in by an ambulance. I mean, this is craziness that goes on in this industry. And it never ceases to amaze me what we see on a day to day basis and how inept right now the insurance companies are. Services is at an all time low. We're on the phone when we call them 2 hours.
Mm.
Who who can do that? Who can sit on a phone for 2 hours waiting for somebody to pick up and give you an answer? So there are things going on in this industry that totally suck. And my goal is to try to fix some of it, but it's one claim at a time. And so there's got to be more help from Congress. There's got to be more help from the Department of Labor. And so one of the things is I'm going to talk to them in the next few weeks. And my goal is to point out some of these things. I get an overturn on a denial of 10 months. I'm waiting for the checks for each month of payment. Some of them, it's taken 8 to 10 to 12 months to get those 10 months worth of checks for the family.
Mm.
And that's because the insurance companies are just inept and they're hiring people that know nothing. They don't know how to speak the language of claims. And it's very frustrating for a family that knows nothing to get on the phone with these people and try to get a good answer instead of being shuffled off. I can call an insurance company on a claim 10 times. I'll get 10 different answers, or each time I call, they'll say, oh, the claim's in process. That's their pat answer. Oh, it's
Mm.
being worked. Oh, well, I sent it back, but it didn't get there. So now I'm going to resend it. How many times are you going to let them get away with that without making a complaint somewhere to someone?
Hey there, listeners. Enjoying the show so far? Don't miss out on any future episodes. Click the subscribe button now to stay up to date with all our latest insights and tips on navigating insurance claims. Your support helps us bring you this valuable content every week. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
So, Mary, when it comes to a denied claim, what are the repercussions for completely ignoring it and not dealing with it?
Well, the repercussions for families is you will be hounded, usually by a collection agency. The facility or the provider is going to be calling you. Sometimes they won't see you unless your account is current, so it can strain a relationship with your providers. So I think those are the things that happened. And then it's just that feeling of helplessness that you can't fix it. So you got to have somebody that, is in your corner to help you fix it, because I think if you're and I've done it in my life before, like my taxes. I don't want to do my taxes. I hate taxes. But yet I know I got to do them. And my tax man's, where's your stuff? Where's your stuff, Mary? And then I know ultimately I'm going to have to get the stuff to give to my tax man so we can file my taxes on time. And it's sort of that kind of thing for me. It mimics the same thing. Or if you have a medical decision to make and it's you can't make it. Do I do this? Do I don't do it? Do I take this test? So it's sort of, you just need good advice. You need that kind of thing. People around you that know what's going on. So I guess it's looking for someone experienced that is well versed in what you need
What's the
and how
opportunity?
to get it pulled
Yeah.
together.
Okay. So I really want you to dive a little bit more into your story. So we talked about, you growing up in claims, and you've been in this for 53 years, which is amazing. But why choose claims out of everything that you could have done?
Well, I think it just sort of fell in my lap. And when I realized that I had more knowledge about claims than anyone else I'd met in my life after 20 years. And when I left the insurance industry and moved to the hospital, the physical medicine and rehab hospital, where traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, strokes, multiple trauma, these were real people to me. When you're not looking at a claim, when you're just looking at paper, but I was in the hospital setting and I was meeting the families and I was talking to them and I was feeling their pain and seeing the struggle of what it was like to be in that type of situation. My heart got very full and I thought, oh my God, I need to do this. I need to help people. I need to help more people, because what I was doing was getting their claims paid working there. I was getting the insurance company to authorize. I was getting the money in. And I knew that I needed to do more of it and I needed to do it on a bigger scale, because there were many, many, many more people that have no knowledge of what to do. And so to be able to sort of be that voice, be that person that could walk them through it and take away that stress and make it be more of a process and give them peace of mind. So, yes, we're going to win. We'll win. We're going to win. And if I don't win, I've got somebody who will litigate this case for you. So, over time, it just felt good. It feels good to help someone. And so, that is the reason I do this work. That is the reason I have employees who I've trained to understand the strategy. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been fun and it's been enjoyment for me to help as many people as we've been able to on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah. So, what's the opportunity cost of me trying to do this on my own? Like, in other words, is this something like I would try to do on my own and I would lose way more money doing this on my own rather than outsourcing it to fix my claim?
Well, there are people who attempt to do it on their own, and sometimes they come to me and I'm just like, okay, well, that was an effort. It wasn't the best effort you could have done, but some people will write 3 paragraphs to their insurance company, or they'll call them and say, "Oh, do you want to appeal it?" "Yeah, I want to appeal it." And yet there's no evidence. So the next letter comes, it just says, "We've maintained our denial of your previous claim." And you don't get a meaningful dialogue. So federal laws allow for you to get a meaningful dialogue of your claim. They're supposed to give you the reasons, the specific reasons for denial. And some of them are just, it's not covered. And so you need more information. And families just don't understand how important it is not to do those types of things. Don't do it on your own. If you do, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to get more frustrated because you're just going to keep getting no's. You need to get in there, dig in, get with somebody that understands it and can even walk you through it. We have a guidance only product that we sell where we just guide families to do their own appeal. There are a lot of people that do a pretty darn good job, but I have to walk them through we walk them through each step as they're going. Okay, let's gather the evidence. And okay, let's start the first part of the letter. And it's sort of like learning podcasts, I guess. There's a process that you go through and you just got to learn to do it. And so I think some people are built for it and some people are not. And they're more of the wringing hands type, you know. So you've got to know what your personality is, what type you are. And then, am I a go-getter? Do I think I can do it? But I still wouldn't do it without some advice. I think the advice is probably the most important.
Sure.
And I had a woman who reached out to me yesterday and she goes, I just want to know your pricing. And I said, I can't give you pricing. I don't know anything about your claim. So how about we schedule a call? It's free. So why don't we schedule a call and at least talk about it so that I can give you some free advice, even if you don't want to come with me, at least let me give you a little guidance. So I haven't heard back from her yet, but I'm hoping I will today. So some people, they want something for nothing, which most people do anyway, but you got to get in and you got to dig in, and you generally will need some guidance in doing this.
Yeah. No, that's so good. That's so good, especially when you talk about like, am I built for this? And I don't think that's something that we can answer right now. That's really something where if you're in a place where you just got a denied claim, you don't know where to turn. I mean, how do they reach out to you, Mary? What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you to start that guidance process?
Well, I think if they go to our website, fixmyclaim.com, there is an inquiry where you can reach out to us. And I believe we automatically schedule a call with the family. And there's a place to put a little bit of information about your claim. And so that opportunity to talk to the family, I think it's the best thing. And it gives me the opportunity to hear the story because every claim has a story. And that's what I like about claims. There's always a family behind it. There's always a story. There's and that to me is something that the insurance company doesn't give a damn about. They don't care about your story. They don't care. And so to be able to talk to a family and listen to their story and then be able to build with them, what kind of insurance do you have? Who's the policy holder? Is it a large company or a small company? And that begins to give me what laws apply, what rules apply, what type of denial was it? Give them some information that they can feel good about and begin to understand their claim. So their story then equates into the claim, which makes the strategy of how you're going to go get that money. And so I feel like that first phone call is the most important thing that we do here at Fix My Claim is talking to that family, talking to that person that has that denial, and then really kind of molding it into, okay, do you want some help? If so, this is what we're going to need. And it's a good thing. And then we talk about getting the insurance policy and doing those things that are necessary to begin the investigation work of it. Send us a copy of the denial, send us your policy, send us your ID cards, all of those things that start to begin the foundation of how to move forward to win.
That's so good, Mary. As we conclude this episode, I think it's clear that you are a wealth of knowledge. And from here on out, I'm going to pass this podcast off to you as the main host, as you bring on guests that continue to, help the listener understand like, okay, now I know what to do to win a claim. Now I know what my insurance rights are. I know what things I should be looking for in terms of like what what an insurance company is doing that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Like there's so much to share with people, and I'm so excited for the future of this podcast. So again, I'll hand it off to you from here on out on the next episode. But thanks so much for joining me for this initial pilot episode.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciated it. Be sure to visit our website at www.fixmyclaim.com, where you can subscribe to the show on all major audio and video platforms so you'll never miss an episode. If you find value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. For more resources on navigating insurance claims, check out our blog and free guides available on our website. Don't forget to follow us on social media and join our community for ongoing support and updates. Tune in next week for another episode filled with guidance, reassurance, and the knowledge you need to secure the benefits you and your family deserve. Until then, remember, you have the power to fix your claim.